Next caller that we have is Michael, listening from Colorado. Michael, welcome to the program.
Oh, hello. Thank you for having me. I do appreciate it. How are you two?
Great. Thank you for calling.
Oh, thank you. I just have a simple question. I came across a teaching that said in Romans 6:14, sin shall not, or basically it says, sin is no longer your master, for you no longer live under the requirements of the law. Instead, you live under the freedom of God's grace. I just want to know if after believers are born again, are they still to keep the law after being saved, according to this verse?
All right. When you say keep the law, do you mean keep the Ten Commandments?
Yes.
Well, let me ask you, do you think a believer should keep the Ten Commandments?
Do we need to keep the law to live a holy life?
Well, I mean, is it okay to kill?
Oh, definitely not.
Okay. How about the adultery one? Does God still want us to keep that?
What's that?
How about the adultery, seventh commandment? Should we still be faithful to our spouses?
Oh, definitely.
What about the idol commandment? Do not worship idols. Should we still keep that one?
Oh, definitely. I agree.
So if I go through the Ten Commandments, is there one that you think that it'd be okay for a Christian not to keep?
Oh, I'm just asking, what does this verse reference to when it says we're not under the law?
All right. First, I wanted to make that point clear. But when we sin, we are under the penalty of the law. The penalty for the law is death. When we accept Jesus, he saves us, so we are no longer under the death penalty. He's not saying we're no longer under an obligation to obey God, because Jesus said, it's not those who say, Lord, Lord, but they that do the will of my Father in heaven. So, of course, once we're saved, if we love the Lord, Jesus said, if you love me, keep my commandments. And the first 4 commandments are summed up in loving the Lord. The last 6 commandments are summed up in loving our neighbor. And if we love the Lord and love our neighbor, we'll be wanting to keep the 10 commandments. That's a starter, of course. And then, the law, of course, expands into just some social interaction and other things. But, we have a study guide for you or anyone that wants to know about what's that relationship between being under the law and grace. It's called, Does God's Grace Blot Out the Law?
We'll be happy to send this to anyone who calls and asks. Now, remember, there is a difference between the ceremonial laws, and Paul does say that Christ is the fulfillment of those laws. In other words, in the New Testament era, for those who are born again, there's no value or virtue in sacrificing animals. That all pointed to Jesus. And so definitely there's an aspect of that ceremonial law, of the ceremonial, that came to an end. But the Ten Commandments, of course, defines what sin is.